my name is Amanda Armstrong, or Mandi. I'm 32 years of age. I have 3 siblings, 2 older, 1 that's younger by a year. Grew up with both of my parents. They would have been married 33 years this September. Growing up, we had really good life. We lived in Mishawaka for all of it, basically, with a few little blips here and there. Church wasn't a huge focus for our family. We went to church a few times, and growing up, I remember my Aunt Jean would bring us to like the summer Bible thing that they would have here at Michiana when I was a kid, and Melanie and I would go. That was always fun, but we really didn't understand a lot of what was going on. It was just a fun thing to do with our cousin. And we didn't go to church on Sundays. We attempted a few times, but we never really got into it. My dad wanted to go to church, and he wanted to be, a churchgoer, but he had a falling out with his previous church, and his trust wasn't there to do it, so we just never joined a church. We never got into it. So I always thought of it as we were raised to come to our own conclusions about Christ and everything, and that wasn't really what he was pushing for, because he would constantly tell us that we need to pray for things, and God's watching us and everything. But I think I, for the most part, was atheist, is probably the easiest way to put it. I believed in a higher power, but I did not believe Jesus rose from the dead and ascended for our sins. I didn't believe that. I thought it was a nice little story people told people, and I didn't find any facts in it, so I didn't trust that. Elementary school was real easy for me. As a kid, I understood everything very easily. Middle school, same. I always had very high grades, and I never really had to be disciplined if I ever got something lower than what they felt I should have gotten, because I got on myself 10 times harder than they ever got down on me. So I always expected higher for myself. High school, same thing. It was easy. It was fun. I didn't cause too much trouble, if any, probably. I was a pretty good kid. College, kind of where it started sliding down a little bit. I developed an anxiety and depression disorder, and I got test anxiety really bad in my 3rd year in college. I think it was my 3rd year in college. It got so bad, the test anxiety, I started failing everything. And then depression got worse because then I was failing, so it just made me feel like even more of a loser. And basically just allowed myself to suffocate in all of that darkness. It was my 23rd birthday, and I had succumbed to it pretty heavily. And I had planned and almost executed my own suicide. And as I was preparing to write my note, I had a very quick thought that, it wouldn't be my parents who found me. It would be my younger sister. And she'd been through a lot growing up, and she didn't need to deal with that. So that's what kept me here. at that time. It took about a month before I admitted to anybody what I was going through. And then I talked to my doctor and I started getting medication to help and came out of it and decided that I needed to be my own motivator. So at this time, I still do not believe in any higher power. You know, there was obviously an intervention there. Like, he definitely spoke to me at that moment that I can see now years past, but in the moment it was just, I did that. It was me and my sister. But it took about a year, and then I started, you know, what are the things you're not happy with, and just start taking care of those little things one at a time. So that's how I brought myself out of it. But a lot of it is really what you tell yourself every day. So I ended up dropping out of college to help deal with that, and that helped a lot. And then I started working for an elementary school with a little girl. I started working as a special needs assistant, and I worked with a little girl who had a pretty long list of things, disabilities that she had to overcome. She was epileptic, she was blind, she was losing her hearing, couldn't talk, couldn't walk when she started school, was not potty trained, she's autistic, and she has a developmental delay. So at the time I didn't think too much of it, but I mean, you think about this little kid, she's got all of this stuff that's just wrong, and she's fighting to be here. And I had everything right, and I was trying to take it away. So I like to think of her as my life lesson from how blessed and how grateful I should have been for everything I was given that she can't have, and how awesome and really thankful she is just to even be able to wake up in the morning. Because it was a fight for her to even be alive. So by the end of her kindergarten school year, she was walking unassisted around the school. Which was awesome because we didn't think she was going to start walking that soon. So it made me feel just awesome that I could help her do that. And there's a lot of walking. There's a lot of singing. She liked music, so I'd sing to her. I'm not very good, but she dealt with it. And I worked with her for 3 years, and then I left there to go to my current job. And I work at Lippert Components as a consumption manager. It's opened a lot of doors, helped with a lot of self-confidence. Well, it's opened up opportunities to get involved in the community and volunteer and, get to know people. I'm an introvert, so I don't like being in a large group of people, around people 24/7. It's annoying, to say the least. But So getting able to get out and do small things around the community that helps out in a good way has been very impactful in the community, but also on me as a person. It's opened my eyes a lot to how other people are, and maybe I don't need to be so standoffish when getting involved in things. I was very close with my dad. He suffered from congestive heart failure, but you can live with that. So he was taking medicine and he was keeping up on it, and this past year he's been struggling. He had been struggling more. In December, this past December, he had a heart attack right in between. It was after Christmas, but before New Year's. And we took him in, called an ambulance and had him taken in. And at the time, I thought he was having a stroke because it wasn't like any heart attack I'd ever experienced with him. It was much different. But his heart had been so weakened from all of his previous heart attacks, his lungs were being affected as well this time. So his breathing became very strange, very labored, and he lost consciousness for a little bit. And so we took him in, didn't know what was going on. They diagnosed him with a heart attack. They were going to do a procedure that was going to shock his heart back into rhythm, and then they were going to go in and cauterize the areas of his heart that were causing the out of rhythm problems he was experiencing. When they were going to put him under, the anesthesiologist noticed that his body was retaining more water around his heart and his lungs than it should have. And if he were to put him under for a surgery, he was afraid he wouldn't wake back up from it. So he told them that he didn't think we should go through with the surgery. So at that time, we chose not to. And to help relieve the stress and strain on his heart, they put him on Lasix to help drain some of the water off. That unfortunately made the situation much worse, and he had his kidneys shut down. So they put him on dialysis and admitted him into the hospital.
You make everything glorious. You make everything glorious. You make everything glorious, and I am yours. What does that